right, everyone. This is one of those weekends for which we built this channel. This is Rivalry Weekend. This is playoff aspirations on the line, the whole deal. So let's lock in for the next 30 or whatever you'd like me. I will. Yes, I can commit to this, everyone. I can commit to this. I will be here until 11:30 a.m. Eastern time Saturday morning, if you would like me to. I am going to friends to watch the noon football games. I think there's one in particular that we want to see, but the noon football games Eastern time on Saturday. So I'm going to a friend's house for that. So give me a little time to maybe slap some water on my face, maybe jump in the shower, put on some clean clothes, and then it takes me about 10 or 15 minutes to get there. So I can be all yours until 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. We can do a 12-hour show if you would like. That is certainly up to you. All right. Texas A&M. We will talk about that. Of course, let's run through the scores and then get to the calls. And I'll provide my take. Look earlier in the day on some of the videos posted. We looked at Iowa, Nebraska, same old right there. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'll provide some thoughts about Iowa and Nebraska. And I know that the game in this hyper focus about the college football playoff means nothing in that direction. But I think it tells us so much about those two teams and those two programs. Iowa wins 40-16 over Nebraska. Also posted a look at Ole Miss, Mississippi State Egg Bowl. And again, we're at this place in college football where we've got one of the great rivalries in college football being played for the state of Mississippi, the Magnolia State, the great Magnolia State. I covered this rivalry, like meaning press box, locker rooms on the sideline for 7 years. But that's like the afterthought. It's all about Lane Kiffin. And then, of course, we had Texas A&M and other games tonight. Let's quickly go through the scores and get to the calls. Okay. And, of course, this should not take long because we had an abbreviated Friday, as always, but one of my favorite days of college football each and every year, Black Friday. Territorial Cup, couple 8-3 teams going at it. And Arizona leads Arizona State. They just kicked a field goal to make it 16-7, apparently, because it was 13-7 just minutes ago. 16-7, Wildcats lead. Still 12 minutes left to play, but Arizona State led that game 7-3 at halftime. Made some mistakes in their own end, and Arizona actually overcame a missed field goal, blocked field goal, and a fumble in the red zone early in the game, or they could have put up some big points, but it looks like the Wildcats are going to win this game, but they're still have plenty of time left here. 16-7, but Arizona State with Jeff Sims at quarterback, big shocker here, not able to move the football. Indiana, the Old Oaken Bucket, is all Hoosiers here, 56-3 over Purdue. As expected, Indiana marches on to the Big Ten championship game. Texas wins at home against Texas A&M. Really good football game, and the Longhorns get it done. Will it be enough for a college football playoff appearance? Probably not. Again, check out the video I just posted seconds ago. We do a brief look at the actual game, more about Texas' case to go to a college football playoff and what most likely would have to happen for the Longhorns to get a bid at 9-3. Georgia survives Georgia Tech. I did not see this game. I watched the early games. I saw the late games. I missed the middle stuff right there. I did see Haynes King throwing the ball in the end zone on a Hail Mary attempt at the end, but it looks like an unimpressive win for Georgia. But hey, at this point in the season, just win the games. If you're in Georgia's position, that's exactly what they did to finish 11-1. They may be playing in the SEC championship game, and most likely will be playing in the SEC championship game. Georgia Tech, of course, has most likely missed the ACC championship game. Yes, that's all in the hands of Virginia, SMU, Miami, and Duke. Could have been a big win for Georgia Tech, but they faltered the last 2 weeks to finish at 9-3. but they kept it close. The aforementioned Ole Miss win over Mississippi State 38-19. Lane Kiffin, I did not hear it directly out of his mouth, but apparently said after the game that he's still making a decision. Utah defeated Kansas 31-21. Not a thing of beauty by the Utes, but they've not been playing the best of football against some bad Big 12 teams the last few weekends, but they do get the win to finish at 10-2. The aforementioned Iowa win against Nebraska 40-16. These two teams, these two programs, they just run in completely. There are so many things that are the same or should be the same about these two programs, playing in the same region of the country, having some of the same values, being known for physical football, being the foundation of their program. But everything else is quite different. As Nebraska finds ways to lose games, Iowa finds ways to win games. Iowa plays with great poise and determination and technique and fundamentals, and Nebraska is a loose ship, a loose cannon, screwing stuff up constantly. It doesn't matter who the head coach is. Apparently, Matt Rule's third season was a failure. 7-5 looks like it's okay. It's an improvement by one game, but against a weak schedule, Nebraska was a bad football team. They lose by 24 points. In the MAC, Ohio defeats Buffalo 31-26. Kent State wins over Northern Illinois 35-31. It's Air Force completing a 4-8 season as they defeat the Rams of Colorado State 42-21 in a game I'm sure you all took in. Were these other games? No, they weren't. These were today as well. San Diego State loses to New Mexico 23-17. That jumbles up the Mountain West Conference as the Aztecs fall to 6-2. We got Temple in North Texas, and look out, North Texas. A weak schedule in conference play, but 52-25 as they complete an 11-1 season. You got Boise State coming back to defeat Utah State 25-24, and there you see Boise State also 6-2 in the Mountain West. They did lose the head-to-head to San Diego State, and those are your Friday scores. On to the phone lines, we got DeReal MVP chiming in. DeReal.
Hey, Mark. How are you doing this evening?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. To me, Texas with the complete, I would say, not domination, but game control of Texas A&M. To me, this is going to be the first three-loss team that should be in the playoffs. They're 2-2 against teams that are currently ranked in the playoffs, with their wins being against Oklahoma and Texas A&M. They have a common opponent that Notre Dame has, which is Texas A&M. Notre Dame lost, Texas won, and it was pretty obvious which team was better when looking at that common opponent. To me, if I'm looking at it, Texas should be the last team in. Miami should be above them. Notre Dame right now should be the first team out. That's the way I would have it right now.
I can totally understand that perspective. I think that the committee will hide behind the Florida loss, and I think that that should be, of course, taken into account. That's a horrendous loss. But the total Texas resume is better than the entire Notre Dame resume. It's right. A better resume against a better schedule, better teams, better performances outside of the Florida game. You did bring up the common opponent, and those games were, there wasn't a huge discrepancy, but it was a decided discrepancy between one team, as you mentioned, Texas winning the game in a solid fashion against Texas A&M, and the other one, a loss for Notre Dame. And then again, it really just drops off for Notre Dame to the USC win and what might be a Pitt win. We'll see what they do against Miami. But either way, Notre Dame's got a win-loss situation, catch-22 with that Miami-Pitt outcome. Of course, direct head-to-head, they want Miami to lose that game so they can get rid of the Miami comparison. But in regards to connecting that to Texas, whatever happens in that Miami-Pitt game can be either held against Notre Dame or to its credit. But Texas, by way of playing in the SEC against the tougher schedule, has a better resume than Notre Dame in that sense. Yes.
Right. They would also have 3 wins that are better than any win that Notre Dame has on their schedule. Think about that.
Oklahoma, Texas A&M, and Vanderbilt, if we believe Vanderbilt to be better than USC. If we're going
according to the committee, they are.
Yeah, according to the committee. Yes.
So if they're the one evaluating the teams, I'm going to go off what they've said. And I don't, it's a weird position I find myself in, and I think it's college football fans do, because we're having to like root against Notre Dame to put the sanctity of the sport in and have the resumes and head-to-head matter. I feel kind of bad for their fans because it's not like I hate their fans or I'm rooting against their fans or have any bias against their team. It's just their team is such poorly placed every week. I almost like kind of rooting for them to lose in a sense because it's messing up literally the rest of the sport.
Yep.
It's
we've had those situations in the past. As soon as you mention that, this seems like a strange connection, but I think at Tim Tebow, when had Tim Tebow shoved down our throats every week constantly about everything, and everything that was good in college football seemed to be connected to Tim Tebow. And I actually, now that he's out of the sport and out of the NFL, I am a huge Tim Tebow fan and support his foundation and his ministry because he does great things. But while he was playing college football, everything the guy did had to be magnified a million times, and people got sick of him, including me. And it had nothing to do with him. It was not his fault, but I got sick of him. Now with Notre Dame, the one thing I will say there is obviously they, every conference in America would love to have Notre Dame as a member, but they are not being forced. They are making a decision that is in their evaluation base, the best option for them. So I don't discredit them. I don't hold it against Notre Dame. I hold it against the powers that be of the sport, or the lack of powers that be in the sport, structuring things so we can actually make a apples to apples comparison more so than we can now.
Right. I also hold it against the committee. They're probably 5 to 7 spots ranked higher than they should be, in my personal opinion. Utah, massive struggle bus today. Arizona has completely obliterated Arizona State in every metric except the box score. They've had 3 missed field goals. 2 of them were actually missed. 1 was blocked. They fumbled inside the 5-yard line of Arizona State. This should be like a 35-7 game, but it's only 16-7. Jeff Sims is the quarterback for Arizona State, which is like, I didn't even realize he was still playing college football. I thought he retired like 3 years ago from playing college football, but he's still horrible out there. Not sure if you've caught any of that game or anything. Not sure why Arizona was ranked 20th in the country, but they'll probably be unranked next week.
Yeah, I had that game on a second screen, and I was simply rooting for Arizona State because I picked them to win. And I somewhat forgot about Jeff Sims myself. I shouldn't have. I knew he was the backup quarterback at Arizona State. And I guess I did know that Sam Leavitt was going to miss this game because he's been that's been his injury status. That was just a bad pick on my part, just really not paying attention, because had I, Jeff Sims is, God bless him. I hope he's a fine individual and finds something to do post collegiate life in something other than sports as a professional, because he is one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's the JJ McCarthy of college football, Mark. There's absolute. I'm not joking, by the way. If you want to trash talk Michigan fans, expected points added, JJ McCarthy since 2000, the second worst quarterback of all time, only behind Jamarcus Russell.
Really?
Yeah.
He's playing that badly.
Yes. He is literally worse than every quarterback except Jamarcus Russell.
I did not realize things were going that poorly.
Yeah. It's almost like having some guy tell you the plays on the sidelines might actually matter, Mark, for the big, just in general. That might help you. This might be some more evidence that might help you.
Yeah. That also reminds me that I saw a barrage on X and on social media in general when CJ Stroud threw one preseason interception his first game, and suddenly the sky had fallen and there was no way he was ever going to make it in the NFL because he had thrown one interception in his first preseason game. That Michigan fans were just all over that.
Yeah, fans overreacting, I would say uncommon sight, which it needs to be less common. Common sense is uncommon nowadays. I'd like to ask you about the Utah-Kansas game. Not sure if you caught any of that. What happened to Utah's run defense? Utah has given up like 20,000 rushing yards against teams in Kansas. I mean, You can literally fit some semi trucks through some of the lanes they've had. I mean, it's ugly, Mark. I don't know if they've just got a bunch of injuries these last few weeks, or they've had some changes or something that's happened to their program internally that we don't know about. But I mean, it is completely flipped.
Yeah, I really don't know. Utah is obviously known for having stout defenses, especially stout front sevens and, behemoths playing defensive tackle, and that being kind of a hallmark and a source of pride for Kyle Whittingham, that even if his team loses, they're not going to get pushed around. But man, I saw nothing today except for, during the course of the highlights, I saw, a couple Kansas backs running down the field aimlessly with nobody in their way. But I did take in a large chunk of, in the aftermath, Utah and Kansas State from the week before. Like, I sat down and watched like the full 25-minute highlight package, and then looked at the box score, because I'm thinking Kansas State's running for an unseemly amount of yardage in this game. What happened? And I looked it up, 472 rushing yards in that game. Yeah, I cannot really look at this Utah team as a legitimate playoff team.
No, to be honest with you, they're ranked way too high. Like, they should be close to or just ahead of Virginia in that group of teams, around the 17, 18, 19 range. I don't understand. The committee has consistently ranked Utah and Notre Dame well above what their resume has actually showed they do. I know they had a 3-point loss to BYU and they got killed by Texas Tech, but just because you lose to great teams doesn't and beat everyone else does not make you a great team within yourself.
Yeah, their best win at this point is Cincinnati, who's 7-4 in this Arizona State win. They're going to drop to 8-4 for the season. They beat them by 5 touchdowns, so they beat a couple of like decent top 40 teams. 2 of them. Then it really falls off a cliff after that.
Yeah, it's embarrassing. So, Mark, I'll ask you the ultimate question. 1 playoff spot remaining, okay? Here's
Yes.
your teams that you've got. Or I'll say 2 to give you some wiggle room, since it'll be 2. You've got Miami, Notre Dame, Vanderbilt, Texas, and Michigan. You can pick 2.
Based on the results being what they would need to be for, like, Michigan has to beat Ohio State to be
Correct.
involved in the, yeah. I've got Miami in with a win against Pitt and the head-to-head against Notre Dame. And I am going to go with, for as much as I would hate to see Vandy be left on the sideline with the season that they had, Texas won the game head-to-head. Texas beat Oklahoma. Texas beat Texas A&M. Texas went to Columbus, played within a touchdown. Those would be my 2 teams.
Okay. And do you think the committee would rank Texas above Oklahoma just as like, well, they weren't even really in the discussion type thing, or do you think they would put Texas as the last team? I feel like that's the only 2 options the committee has.
Meaning just because the head-to-head.
Right.
Wait a minute.
Right.
That they would rank Texas above Oklahoma, even if Oklahoma wins tomorrow?
Right. I think there's going to be multiple, like, I think if Alabama, for instance, example, wins the SEC, I think they're going to be ranked number 2 in the country. So I don't think it'd be unprecedented for a team with multiple or more losses to be ranked behind a team with less losses, especially if you have the overwhelming head-to-head result.
The committee was talking up the John Mateer injury at the time, though. So I don't know how much they're taking away from that Texas win. And Oklahoma did play a brutal schedule and would have a better record.
This is fair. This is all fair. To me, I absolutely agree with your picks. It should be Miami and Texas that makes it in the college football playoff. But like I've been saying for about a month and a half now, somebody as an at-large team will be absolutely screwed.
Yeah. And I'm not convicted on those picks, to real. I got to say that, man, that Florida performance for Texas, that one really holds me back. Even though I pulled the trigger on Texas there, that one really, I believe that Florida, they could lose to Florida State and be 3-9. I think that they're much better than that. They're just a much more talented and capable team. but they're still 3-9, possibly, or 4-8, whatever it is. It's not going to be good. So that is a horrendous loss.
Well, you're choosing between a 3-loss team and a bunch of 2-loss teams who have no chance of winning at all. They all have blemishes on their resume. I mean, if you were to pick Michigan, for example, like I see some people doing, I mean, they've barely beat every bad team in the country, it feels like. So is slightly beating Purdue and Michigan State, is that better collectively than getting killed by Florida? I don't know. Honestly don't know. And that's for the committee to decide. But to me, Mark, 6 or 7 potentially SEC teams still has a chance to make the playoff, Mark. Big Ten man's going to be in shambles, Mark. Big Ten man is in shambles. 84% of your chat thought only 4 SEC teams were going to make the playoffs or fewer. 84% of your chat needs to apologize to me, Mark. Anyway, have a good rest of your show, and I'll see you tomorrow after Ohio State finally beats Michigan.
Thanks, Daryl. Appreciate you being here. Now let's hold off, Daryl, until the final selections are made. But I would be curious as we take this next call to see. I don't know that we got any kind of overwhelming response on this poll that we took a few weeks ago. I have not looked at it since. Let me catch up to it just a second. So we asked a couple weeks ago. Yes. How many SEC teams will make the college football playoff? We got 724 votes. And it takes way too long. There you go. There were actually 30% out there that thought 3 or less SEC teams would make the playoffs. Okay. 4 at 53%, only that would be 17%. We're at 5 or more. You know, Georgia's in, Texas A&M's in, Ole Miss is in, Alabama if they lose to. I can't keep the scenario straight in my head. If Alabama loses tomorrow, Georgia's in. Well, that'd be a second SEC loss. So we're looking at the Georgia, Ole Miss, and Texas A&M tie. That would mean Georgia and Ole Miss would play in the SEC championship games. So that would drop Bama to 9-3. That would make it a bit precarious for them. So let's say that even happens. Bama's gone, but Oklahoma's going to get in at 10-2, or they would be the best 9-3 option. Then you also have Texas involved. You also have Vandy, although they've got a tough game in Knoxville at Tennessee. The worst case scenario for the SEC is obviously Vandy loses, Oklahoma loses, Bama loses, and it's Georgia, A&M, Ole Miss for sure. And then you've got this 9-3. I'm sorry. Yes. Georgia, Texas A&M, Ole Miss are 11-1. And then you've got this glut of Bama, Oklahoma, Texas, Vandy, Tennessee, 5. Texas, Oklahoma, Vandy, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Texas, Vandy, Tennessee, Bama, 5 SEC teams at 9-3. Interesting. Okay. Don't see that happening, but it's possible. All right. So welcome into the Voice of College Football. We got Dr. C here.
Hey, how's it going, Mark?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Sorry, allergies there. Hey, I was just thinking, how awesome. I used to live in California, and I kind of want to move back just for the simple fact that you can wake up at 9 a.m. and watch Ohio State, Michigan.
How hopefully awesome is that? Kidding.
Yeah.
No, I say hopefully you're kidding.
No, because the game's at 12 Eastern, right?
Well, I understand. I know the time zones and what that would do to the time of the game, depending on where you live. But uh, you're scaring me a little bit there, Dr. C, about making life decisions based on when one game kicks off at one time per year.
Well, and how awesome. Well, I mean, in regular, just regular college football. I mean, you wake up, you have breakfast, and the game's on, right?
Depending on how you want to live your life, yeah, I would probably want that, and that actually would have probably made when I had significant others, that would have made my life easier, certainly, because who gets their day started at 9 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday on a weekend? So basically, yeah, that first game, noon Eastern, you kind of can get that out of the way before there are any obligations thrown at you. Yeah, I totally get that. I've lived that out a few times, being in California over college football weekends, and yeah, waking up to college football is kind of fun.
Yeah, and I mean, as any big sporting event, usually starts at the, central, the East Coast around 9, 10 o'clock at night. Well, in California, that's more, they're starting at about 7 or 8. So the event's done by 10 or 11. So you can still go out at night, right? So that's awesome. Sorry about that, but
All
I
right.
noticed
Well,
it.
I would not wish uh, moving to California on anyone at this point, but I get your point.
Yeah. So hey, so I was watching, of course, the Ole Miss Mississippi State game today, and it was just sad, especially with the Kiffin post game. Did you watch the post game?
No.
It looked like a funeral. Like Kiffin's there tearing up, saying he hasn't made a decision yet, talking about how he misses his dad, and he's gonna go and talk to Coach Saban and Pete Carroll about his decision that he's supposedly going to address tomorrow.
Well, I'm kind of curious as to what Nick Saban will say, because Nick Saban made the decisions that he made to leave, of course, Michigan State, then LSU, and then the NFL to go back to Alabama and college football. But Nick Saban now says that the worst decision he ever made was leaving LSU.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing. I was kind of thinking Saban would say, go, actually, I was going to say Saban might be, he's older now, right? He might say, hey, if you got a good thing, stay. But then again, you bring the LSU thing, right? In-state recruiting, the NIL is going to be there,
Yeah.
tradition.
Yeah. So exactly. I was thinking of it the same way I think you are, that you can spin it either way. That either Nick Saban is saying, regardless of where you are, if you enjoy it there, if you like it, if you've got a good thing going, then stay. Or it could have been simply that it was a regret for Nick Saban leaving LSU because of what LSU is, not that it could have been anywhere, but that it was simply LSU, and that's a great place to be.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what Coach Carroll says, because Coach Carroll leaves USC. I don't know if he was ready to leave, but he saw the writing on the wall with the punishment on the way coming, right? And he darted.
Yes.
So
Lane
yes,
Kiffin, Lane Kiffin is one of the most polarizing individuals in the sport. So some people are annoyed by him. He's been a bit clownish in the past. He seems to be becoming less clownish the older he gets, which I would hope so. But he would endear himself to a lot of people, even outside the Ole Miss. Now, at Ole Miss, he would be revered for the rest of his life if he stayed and made this decision. But even outside, he would gain a level of respect from people that is and I don't know how much that factors into his decision. Maybe zero, maybe a few percent. I don't know, but he would have to understand. Now, if he goes to LSU and wins national championships, nobody's going to remember or think badly of him. They'll just think, well, he made the good career move and he went to a place he can win national championships. But if he stays at Ole Miss And even if he doesn't have the career that he possibly could have had at LSU, he's still going to endear himself to a lot of people. And there's going to be a lot of heightened respect for Lane Kiffin as actually doing something that kind of flies in the face of business and the dollar, and that he stayed loyal. And there is some bastion, small one, be it, of hope that the sport is still has some level of loyalty and purity.
Yeah, and he was just he looked broken up there. I mean, body language and everything just tells you he's leaving, right? From what I gather, because he just looked like I don't know. This is a huge distraction to the team, right? I feel bad for the players, right? They're having a
I
historic
guess it
run.
is.
I
Well,
I would
it
think
is.
so.
I'm not. I don't mean to. I'm not intentionally disagreeing with you. What I meant when I said that, you're absolutely right. It's a distraction, but based on today's performance, it seems as though they're handling it.
Yeah, it's not respecting the season, right? It's like, hey, your coach, and you know what? A reporter kind of called him out in a kind of disrespectful way, where actually Kiffin got into it early. There's a video where Kiffin confronts him because the guy said you can't make it was a rap lyric where you can't make a hoe into a housewife, right? Saying that Kiffin's kind of flirting with other teams while he's leading the Ole Miss team, right?
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with these reporters. I don't know. Number one, Nick Saban said it the other day, and I've got all the respect in the world for Nick Saban, but you don't have to be a genius to say this. Many of us have said this for years and years and years. It's a product of the college football calendar. It has nothing to do with Lane Kiffin not wanting to be loyal or do this in a respectful way. He can't help it. He can't do anything about the LSU needs a head coach. They're offering him the job. This is when it transpires. This is when coaches leave teams. This has been going on for years and years and years. Lane Kiffin didn't start this. This has been going on forever. It has nothing to do with Lane Kiffin. I don't get that criticism at all. I don't get it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I wasn't when I think about it, I don't blame Kiffin. I blame the system, right? It's putting coaches in this predicament where they're having a great season. A team that's needing a coach has to look for one for recruiting purposes, for preparing for next season because their season is pretty much over, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, let's finish the season, and obviously, in a perfect world, these negotiations wouldn't start until after season, right?
Yeah. So this has been magnified by the college football playoff being 12 teams, and more teams are involved. Therefore, there's a higher possibility and now probability that there will be coaches involved in the playoff that will have an opportunity to move on. So this is the first one we've hit. There will be others. But this has always existed, and coaches have always caught this flack over, well, you're leaving your team at the end of the season. And before it was just they're going to a bowl game, which seems like a joke now. So who cares? You're going to play in the Outback Bowl. That doesn't matter. But 10 or 15 years ago, that mattered to all of us. And you're leaving your team and they're playing in a bowl game. Plus, you're leaving a recruiting class that you recruited. Plus, you're leaving all the players that signed knowing that you were going to be the head coach, and they partially committed to the school. They partially committed to you. And we had all these criticisms of the coach. Well, if the coach would always stay loyal to the players, loyal meaning not go to another team, obviously coaches would never leave teams. So
Yeah.
they could never leave a team, and then they could only be fired. So what do we have to say to the school who is firing a coach, regardless of what his record is, whether they think it's justified based on him having a bad record or not meeting expectations? Well, they're firing a coach who is committed to players, and they have a roster full of players that signed to play for that coach, and they're firing that coach under I never understood. We tend to jump on the player for free agency and for leaving now in the transfer portal, and now coaches leaving teams and saying they're not loyal. Well, the schools aren't loyal. They fire coaches. They're not loyal to players. They trade them. Even in this transfer portal, we tend to focus on the high-end players that leave teams because they have options, but there are a significant amount of these players that leave in the transfer portal because basically the team says, see ya. We have to kind of keep you. You've got a scholarship if we have to, but the writing on the wall is basically you're third on the depth chart. Can you leave? So those conversations are had. So we tend to, I think, I've seen this for years and years and years, just load up in our criticism of players and coaches for not being loyal when the organizations and the schools are not loyal either.
Yeah, and you know who's saying it? The most unloyal folks, the fans, right? Because they will turn on you as soon as you lose, right? Look at Ryan Day, right? Last year, for example, they were ready to run him out of town.
Well, that's a good point. I was curious about your comment when it first came out of your mouth, because I thought you meant about the fans not staying loyal to their teams. But yes, they don't stay loyal to players and coaches. Yeah, it's almost completely, well, it is ludicrous and really speaks very poorly of human behavior when you really look at the treatment of players, like legendary players. Like all you have to do is pop in a 30 for 30 or one of these I can't think of them that the NFL Network creates that basically a football life. If it's any great coach or player, when things weren't going well, they got booed and criticized. And then 2 weeks later, they're playing better and they pull out the big game and they're suddenly a hero and everybody loves them. It's really a poor statement of human behavior.
Well, I was just looking up today Instagram, and there was Dan Campbell, right, on Fox Instagram, and he was giving what is he think? It was a great what he's thankful for. And I look at the comments, and I see the Lions players going, "Well, there goes our season," So it's like, guys, just 2 seasons ago, you guys had about 2 wins, right? And now you have like the goal and the entitlement to demand more. Hey, the team's playing hard. It is what it is, right? So
yeah, and I'm not saying that these teams and these schools should not fire coaches. Certainly, if they're not meeting expectations and they're paying a coach $1 zillion to win championships and he doesn't, those decisions have to be made. But let's not pretend that the schools and the teams, organizations, and professional sports are any more loyal to the players and coaches than the players and coaches are to them. That's just my point.
absolutely, I'm 100% with you. And hey, I'll leave you with this one quickly. So, as you know, the when it comes to the playoff, the big kind of the only real kind of the thing that's kind of sticking out the most is Miami Notre Dame, correct?
Sure.
So I just wanted your thought on the head-to-head, because when it comes to when does head-to-head no longer matter? Because I'm thinking about this, head-to-head matters in conference, right? So, for instance, we have like the one-loss team, whatever. If they went to head-to-head, the team that won gets the chance to go for the SEC championship, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
So shouldn't that criteria be the same for the playoff? Because if like it affects a conference championship,
Sure.
what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I would say yes and no. So you make perfect sense. That's completely logical. But when a conference writes up its tiebreakers for a conference championship game appearance, they need to make hard and fast rules about how that is determined. Or they could do what college football in general does and say, you know what, we have a Big Ten committee and we have no rules. We have a bunch of criteria about who's going to make the conference championship game. And if it's a tie, we've got a committee who's going to decide who goes. That's what college football does for the playoff. So you make sense in regards to but there's just so many other teams involved. When you speak of a conference, you're speaking of a close-knit category of teams that all play each other. Not every single one plays every single one, but they play. By the time an entire conference season's played, you're talking about like 100 games played among those, say, 16 teams. So that's a direct comparison of like schedules, like teams, common opponents, all of that percentage, especially when the conferences were smaller, winning percentage of opponents within the conference, all of that being very relevant and legitimate and valid, versus comparing teams from the ACC versus the Big 12 that didn't play any of the same opponents, could be anything, and it just being this haphazard correlation.
Got it. Hey,
So,
the last thing. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. So what I would say about Notre Dame and Miami is this. I have no issue whatsoever with anyone saying that in their opinion, Notre Dame's better than Miami. I tend to think Notre Dame's better than Miami. So that's separate than making a decision. If I was on the college football playoff committee, my decision would be Miami should be ranked ahead of Notre Dame, because there's a reason we play games and have the competition on the field. It's to decide who gets the advantage in situations like this. Therefore, Miami won the game on the field. They should be ranked ahead of Notre Dame. But I could clearly separate that from, and I get the feeling in doing this for as long as I have and talking to viewers and so forth, that they don't quite get this, that I can separate the two. Those can be two different things. I can say on one hand, I believe Notre Dame's a better football team than Miami. Even though I saw them play on August 31st and Miami won the game, I believe Notre Dame is slightly better than Miami. But over here, if you left it up to me in terms of there's one playoff spot left, Miami's 10-2, Notre Dame's 10-2, Miami won the game, I would select Miami. And some people can't fathom that. They can't reason that I can do both at the same time and say, I believe Notre Dame's a better football team, but Miami earned the playoff spot. So I would select them for the playoff. I would not say, you know what, my opinion's so important that I am saying Notre Dame, regardless of scores and results, they should be in the playoff. That's how I would judge it. The only other caveat to this that I would include, and this does not exist this year, if Notre Dame's played some ridiculously difficult schedule, and that's not the case, I would say their schedule's slightly better than Miami's. They have better wins at the top after Miami's win against Notre Dame. But it's not like Notre Dame went out and beat Oregon, Alabama, Oklahoma, and Texas Tech or something, and could say, we have this just gauntlet of wins that's just so impressive. They don't.
Agreed. Yeah. Good. Great points, Mark. And hey, finally, you know what really gets me is like the ESPN. They always put that percentage chance of getting into the playoff.
Yes.
How do they know that? I don't think the committee even knows how they choose teams. It goes like week by week. I
think somebody may correct me if I'm wrong, because I am not an expert on what ESPN does. But I think if it's done correctly, in my estimation, it would be done this way. That when it says, like it did tonight, if Texas wins this football game, they have an 8% chance of making the college football playoff. It is not just saying that Alabama's going to beat Auburn, Ohio State's going to beat Michigan, blah, 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 on down the line, and plugging in the most probable case and result. I think it's actually, if it's doing its job, it's saying Alabama's got a 62% chance of beating Auburn. Ohio State's got an 81% chance of beating Michigan. And it is that complicated that it is going through all those permutations of the odds of all of those games, not just filling it in. Like, for example, if Ohio State was only a 51% chance of beating Michigan, that would be the same as them being a 90-some% chance of beating Michigan, because it's just defaulting to whoever the favorite is going to win that game. I would hope that it's built to be more complicated than that, and more complicated, it's not the right word, but more advanced than that. And I think it is.
Yeah, I think that actually makes sense. And as a final thing, as a Razorback, they had announced our new coach on what was it, Wednesday morning, and then the news outlets had to take it back, and it turned out that I guess it's not finalized, and I don't even know if he's going to end up being the coach.
And who is that?
So Golish apparently was.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yes, I saw that. I was thinking for a second, Mark, how did you miss the Arkansas head coaching announcement? Yes, I saw that with Alex Golish. So that's not official.
It's not official.
Okay.
So it's not official.
I saw a bunch of Arkansas fans commenting on social media, and it sounded like about half of them at least didn't want him.
I don't hate the hire. I think it'd be a good hire. I was hoping Franklin was going to be the coach. And then a lot of us wanted Summerall, but it looks like he's going to Auburn. That's what all signs are pointing. A lot of us wanted Morris after that. Well, Morris went to Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
And then Golish, I think it's good. But if I had to pick between Bobby Petrino and Golish, I just say keep Bobby and get a new defensive coordinator. Justin Wilcox is out there, right? He just got fired from Cal.
Yes.
Great defensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Get someone like that.
That's your formula right there, Justin Wilcox.
I mean, if Bobby Petrino could have had someone to just slow down offenses on the other side, this is a dangerous team. I mean, they took Texas A&M to the brink. They took who is it? Who else was it?
Teams. Tennessee.
Yeah. They took pretty much everyone they could, except for this last one, Texas.
Yeah.
But I mean, we have such a terrible defense. It's one of the worst defenses I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's right up there with 2000 Ole Miss and 23 USC. It's right up there. It is bad.
Yeah, there's less excuse to have a terrible offense. It seems like a lot of these bad teams, and we saw one today, Mississippi State racked up a ton of yardage on Ole Miss, and they've got a pretty good offense. They put up a lot of points against Texas, Tennessee, and some other teams, but their defense is awful too. I think it's more difficult to put together a first level defense at that level, like in the SEC, to get that many really good players, defensive line play at that level with, more than just, they probably, I'm not an expert on Mississippi State and Arkansas's roster this year as much as I have been in the past, but I would guess they probably both have one or maybe two guys that would be like in a Georgia rotation of like 7, but Georgia's got 7, they've got 1 or 2 that would not be at the top of Georgia's, but they would just be in the 7. They would be like number guy like 5 and 6. And that's one of the big differences.
Well, even when we had, I didn't like Barry Odom as a defensive coordinator. I thought he was not great, but we had a linebacker coach that's now with him at Purdue, who got a guy actually that was a backup that never played at Alabama, then played, and that became a first rounder. Now plays for the Broncos. His name's slipping me, but there you go. Yeah, exactly.
Wait, he was at Alabama, went to Arkansas. I'm going to know who this guy is. He was a first-round pick?
First-round pick last year, I believe, for the Broncos. I can't believe his name. I think it's
Well,
Saunders or
I'm gonna know
Sounders.
who he
Let's
is
see.
if I see him here.
Arkansas.
I'm looking him up right now because I hate not to know things. Oh, Drew Sanders. Yeah, I remember when he left Alabama to go to Arkansas. So I lost track of him after that. I didn't realize he was it's the 3rd round pick.
Oh, was he
67th
3rd
in the
round?
draft. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I don't know why I thought that he had gone 1st round, but yeah, he's at the Broncos and it just smashed it at Arkansas, right? And he had a couple of other linebackers that they got, one from Oklahoma, another in state, and they had a solid linebacking crew. All those kids, of course, left, and then a lot of kids left because of NIL, right? Arkansas has some NIL issues. It looks like they say that a lot of the SEC teams are playing in the gray, and that Arkansas does not want to play in the gray area.
Yep.
And that's costing us recruits.
All right, Dr. C. Appreciate you calling tonight.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Mark. Always great talking to you.
Have a good night. All right. We had our buddy Michael Hogue waiting to call in. I was going to take Michael's call, but he apparently has other things to do. So I apologize for extending those 2 phone calls probably too long. I should go to like a 3 or 5 minute rule. I am way too lenient with you folks. I've been told that many times. Believe me, I have had all sorts of people tell me all the time, you let people talk way too long. And I do. So maybe we'll go to like a 3 minute rule or something like that. We will do that going forward. So there was something that I wanted to address in the chat, but I may have lost track of it. It's been quite a while ago. We do appreciate a number of you that get in the chat, and just remind people to hit the like button and subscribe here at the Voice of College Football. So we thank you for that. And unfortunately, I cannot find this. I did want to address this because I believe that it should be addressed. I cannot find it. That is, here we go. I believe it's coming from our buddy Roll Tide. Yeah, so our condolences go out to our buddy Roll Tide K4U, whose father's passed away recently. He was one of my best friends. I've been crushed lately and saddened by his loss. So we are sorry to hear that, sir. So our condolences go out to you, and our thoughts and prayers for your peace, and that you hold on to good memories and good direction and instruction from your father, because you were obviously very close. So I know how that is. All right, everyone. We appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. Will I go live after Ohio State and Michigan? I don't know what to tell you. And I'm sure some people would tell you that I'll probably go live if Ohio State wins, and I won't go if they lose. But check my track record. That has nothing to do with my decision whatsoever. I have certainly not gone live after Ohio State's beaten Michigan, and I certainly have gone live at least the last 2 years for sure, right after the game. But we do have the Michigan and Ohio State shows after the game. We'll see. We will see. Thanks for being here at the Voice of College Football, and we will see you on Saturday at some point. Definitely late night after the primetime games to wrap up the big weekend of Rivalry Week. See you then.